Mic check. Careers in the cloud. I don't know what episode it is, but all I know is that, Mao, we're in Dubai.
15 hours later.
I know, 15 hours.
Supposed to be 12.
What a journey. I only landed like literally 4 hours ago, so I'm a little bit jet lagged, so apologies if there's a slight delay. But look, we had to come to Dubai. We're here for the world tour, but we're also here for one of our Careers in the Cloud special podcasts with a guest that, funny enough, I actually spoke to across the pond in England. Originally from London, started in the Salesforce ecosystem, I would say around 10 years ago. Has done a lot since then, and as someone who I think has paved the way, worked her way up, and has now relocated to sunny Dubai, one of the places that most people within tech, finance, real estate, everyone is moving here, and you can see why. We've literally been here for a few hours and we're taken back, and that's someone who lives in Barcelona and Canada. So for me, having this person on means a lot if you're looking to relocate, if you're looking for inspiration, and also if you just want to find out what it's like to be in Dubai. So it's our pleasure to introduce the legend, the UK expat, now in Dubai, Rihana Sharif, or AKA Ri. She's here. Ri, how's it going?
Thanks, Emmy. Yeah, great.
So it's good to actually see you in person, right? Like,
yeah,
we've known
it's amazing.
each other for I don't know how many years now.
I think it's been a long time. I think I was at the beginning of my journey when we first spoke. So it's been a long time.
I suppose a place to start, Ri, Salesforce, there's a lot going on. We can get all into that. For you, where did it start? Like, to get into Salesforce so early as you did, to go into tech in a time where Salesforce was still quite new, coming up in sunny London. Talk us through it. Like, for anyone who doesn't know you, give us that little intro.
So I think it was amazing. I just stumbled across Salesforce, of course. I had previously dabbled in some SAP, some Oracle, and I was at the Aon at that time, where I stumbled across Salesforce, and I'd met the head of Salesforce, and she said, "Hey, do you want to give this a go?" And I said, let's see. Fast forward 10 years, I can't believe, this is how it evolved into the career that I did.
You moved your whole life.
Yeah, and I was always looking for the next software, thinking, which is it going to be? It was SAP, was so transactional. Then we had, of course, Oracle, which was great, PeopleSoft and so on. And then, of course, Salesforce was, to me, it looked really interactive. So log into the homepage. This is really great. So loved, it's amazing because, I started off as a Salesforce specialist in Aon. Loved my role there, loved the company. I also then traveled to Belgium, Sweden, Italy, did a lot of in-country deployments. Loved that role. They unfortunately decided to move back to Oracle. And then this was my...
They're regretting that decision now.
I probably would have never left
the partner's
Aon.
not.
Right.
Yeah, true. But Aon was one of the biggest,
Aon was
at
massive.
that time in the UK,
Massive.
for those that don't know, Aon within that sector that they're in dominated that market.
Exactly. So, and I probably would have stayed there. Look, I wouldn't have been here if they hadn't made that decision. So, sliding doors. So I, of course, then moved on to the next few companies. I then eventually decided to become a contractor. It worked out better for me, going into projects, choosing the projects that I want to go into. And then how mature the market is in London anyway.
At that time as well. I was telling Mal, because I think I came into it and you came into it at a time where it was a genuine boom, right? Like there wasn't enough talent. There was so much demand. You could literally dictate what rate you wanted, and you would be getting that many calls inundated. I remember ringing Ri,
what was
and
that
she'd be like,
period
unless it's X amount, don't ring me.
What was that period?
I remember that. I actually remember that, and I said,
"How much?"
That sounds like UK conversation. When was that change in the UK where people started to go contract as opposed to perm?
So that's interesting. So I, of course, 2013, 2014. So when I became a contractor was around 2017, 18.
Okay. So
but I had a few friends who kept on telling me, "Hey, go into contracting," and I thought, "Oh, it's a big risk."
And they'd been doing it for a long time, no?
Yeah, for a long time.
Okay, so it wasn't new to the UK,
but they did say to me, "Oh, but it's not stable. Sometimes you're out of job a couple of months." But actually, I became a contractor, and I always had a line of offers before I finished my contract. So I think by the time I got to contracting, and Salesforce just, that's it. It's just blue.
And you're a pretty good networker too. That's a thing, right? It's some people will find it really tough because they're not the best with networking. But if you're good at networking, like I always tell people this, like if they're in a good space and they're going into contract, like you're going to beg for that time off at one point, because you're going to be like so slammed.
Honestly.
I mean, right now is a bit of a funny time to say that, but there are some people who are like, I know personally, who are super happy to even just take this quarter off. Right. But for that reason.
Exactly. And that's where I was. Before I moved to Dubai, my husband said to me, hey, take a couple of months out. And I said, yeah, I'm taking 3 months out. And he said, can you do it? And I said, well, I will. And then I took 2 weeks off, and then I was like, oh, this contract looks great.
Right.
This
Stuff
project
just comes
looks
up,
great.
Right?
Yeah.
So was that always the plan? Sorry to cut you off, but like when you talk about where you were before in the UK and what you're doing, was it always in your mind that like one day you're going to go to Dubai, or
no? Never a plan.
Like,
never a plan.
What made you consider that relocation?
You're so British as well to me.
When was it?
You love London, right? You're a proper London girl.
Yeah.
It's all about London. I mean, UK doesn't love us back, right? We have no vitamin D. Right, we're waiting for the next summer, the summer that never arrives. It did arrive last year. So go back to your question. No, it was never the plan, right? So I initially got approached in 2018 for one of the major clients here who implemented Salesforce. I got headhunted on LinkedIn. I received a message, and I thought, I'd just come back from Dubai from a holiday, and I thought, I have never thought of relocating to Dubai, and then it's just one of those things. And I thought, is there the ecosystem in Dubai? So then initially I'd said to that contact, I said, no, not, I've never thought of it, not interested. And to be honest, it's a big move. So I'm not sure I'm even interested. And it's so hot in Dubai, 4 months a year. What do you do?
True that.
It just never occurred to me, right? And in London, we don't ever think of relocating. Well, we never did back in the days. A lot of us.
London was the place to be. I was saying this to Mal as well. Like, I used to get that many requests for anyone in the world to want to move to the UK, specifically London. Now, I think post-Brexit and just the way the world's changed, it isn't like that. There's other countries that are way more desirable, including Dubai, right? Like Dubai, I was going to ask you one question as well. Like, when you did move, what was that initial phase like? Because everyone right now that I speak to seems to be set on Dubai, not just for the lifestyle, obviously taxation, the opportunities, the amount of financial gain that you can get. What was that transition like, coming from the UK, Western Europe, to moving to the UAE, Dubai? Like, how was that initial 6 to 12 months like for you?
Transition is insane. So you think you're going to relocate. You have so we had a property in the UK, putting that on rent, and it's a huge process that you go through that it's tiring, super tiring. You do the whole relocation, then it doesn't end there, right? You arrive, you start your role, and then you have to transition into a whole different country. You learn their way of working. Of course, it's very westernized. It's fine, but it's a lot to take in. The whole transition is a lot to take in. Come on, you're driving the wrong side of the road and the wrong side of the car to begin with.
You guys do.
Here.
No.
We
drive on the right side of the road.
So I was driving to Abu Dhabi within 2 weeks on the wrong side of the road and the wrong side of the car. And I was like, what am I doing in my life? So, you do go through these moments. And I think a lot of expats do. They move here and they say, oh my God, did I make the right decision? Did I not?
You're a little bit homesick at times.
Super homesick. If somebody is not, and I never, exactly. And I never relocated anywhere else previously. So of course I was going to go through these. Exactly.
Which was similar to me with Barcelona, but I think I chose Barca because it was close to the UK. I think with the opportunity.
And you told me about Barcelona. I remember you. Yeah,
you made the right choice. Barca's great. Barca's great. But I feel like Dubai is where, in terms of Salesforce and the boom, it is happening. In the Salesforce side, what was it like? Because when you, the one thing that I think people know who's worked in the UK, London was very advanced as an ecosystem. It's the hub of Europe when it comes to technology. Anything that started in San Fran or America usually came to London. When you talk about ISVs, how was it coming here and working with companies compared to what you had been doing, like working with latest techs, all the latest products within SF, to and now coming here where it was totally brand new and greenfield? And
that's just it. That's another part that you start questioning yourself and you think, oh my God, I've gone back 10 or 15 years, you'd think. It's an amazing time to be in Dubai, amazing opportunity. But then again, this was also something that would demotivate anybody who comes from a mature market to tend, hey, I'm back to, wow, the companies don't know what Salesforce is, and those that are trying to implement, they're really stuck in their own ways. And of course, that's expected from stakeholders and companies and so on. But it's just very different to. It's just very similar to companies trying to implement years ago in London, right? We had Classic, we went into Lightning. That's okay. It's a whole different world when it comes to Salesforce. So I think it requires patience, right? It requires patience, because I know I've seen it. I've been in so many projects, so many different companies, non-profit cloud, sales cloud, service cloud.
You touched a lot of tech, that's what I mean. So you had that knowledge.
Yeah. And obviously coming to this, a lot of it is service-based, service cloud.
Yep.
That was my least cloud in London. However, it's a service-based cloud. Having that patience and knowing that, of course, certain times you're not going to learn anything because you've gone back in time.
And yourself, basically.
And yeah, of course. And then of course the other worry is I've come from a really mature market, but I'm doing something that we did years ago, so it's not as refreshing or mentally stimulating.
It's like, I think there's a different challenge though, because if what I'm hearing is correct, back where even like in the States and Canada, the UK, projects are more complex, they're more difficult, like hands-on wise, right? But the customers are also more used to the technology already. Whereas here it's like, yeah, you're like, I don't want to say the project's like a joke, but in comparison, for ease of ability to do it, it's a lot easier than say back home. But the customers are also not necessarily like, they don't have experience with it before.
Yes.
Like, this is the first time again. So it's like, it's a way where I think if you're a strong communicator, which like obviously you are, excellent, business acumen, you speak very well. I could see why you're probably finding a lot of success here. Like, you have a good background in the technology, but I could see why someone might trust you when you say, hey, like, this is probably the way that we should go. This is why. You kind of give them the whole list, as opposed to just someone who's simply technical coming out here, hopefully to make a buck. Like, it's a different kind of need is what I'm trying to say. No?
100%. And I think you nailed it there, just because soft skills is one skill that we need, right? We need soft skill.
Like
we need those people, exactly, non-negotiable. We need those people who will come in and talk to the clients, build that relationship with the stakeholders, build that trust. Exactly. And UAE is all about building that trust and relationships. This is number one. I know that, of course, we have this in the UK. Of course, we have to build our trust with our stakeholders in the UK, of course. But it's on a whole different level here. This is all about your connections. It's all about how you build that trust and that relationship to get the work done, or to get the client, or to work with the client. And this is obviously more so for the consultancies and so on. But I think soft skills is a major skill that we need. And we have a lot of people with a lot of technical experience. And then on the flip side, we also have a lot of candidates that are overqualified. They have a lot of certificates, but they lack that experience, and which is okay. We were just
talking about this today.
Being in front of a customer, right? And then that's when you see them basically diminish.
Like, that's why there's people struggling.
Because one thing, I don't want to stereotype the UAE, but the one thing that I get told, and the people that I know that have moved here, is getting their commitment is a lot harder than being in a place like the UK with a customer. Because I think with customers in the UK or NA, when they know what they want, they go for it. Here, it seems like to get in and to build that trust, as you mentioned, takes so much.
It's the relationship.
I won't say they're wishy-washy more, but it just seems like to get that ultimate buy-in, you have to be someone they really, really rate. And that's where it seems like a lot of the technical people that I've spoken to struggle, because they can't be in front of them. And when they are, it doesn't seem to build the rapport and that relationship. Yeah,
I think you're spot on, Hemi. And I think the other issue is there's more back-end people than front-end people again.
Yeah.
That's the other issue, isn't it? Whether those technical, if they're willing to have that conversation and work on the front end, because a lot of companies here, they expect you to be the back end and the front end, which we don't have that in the UK. In the UK, we have the dedicated people, but here they want the all-rounder. And I think that's the issue as well with the overqualified candidates. They are willing to do it, but then that's where they lack that, right? And they're great. And I was going to add, we do need those people who are overqualified, but have that less experience. Because of course, how are we going to grow as an ecosystem?
Exactly.
So we 100% need those people and need those professionals 100%.
Yeah, there's like no shortage of junior people from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, right, like a lot of
Exactly.
people are pretty quick to move over, but less. I think that's like all around though in the space right now. That's why probably
Really,
you said it's
yeah.
so hot. Like it's such a good place to come if you do have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
For that reason, there's just a massive lack. It's like an opportunity to bring everything you have to the table. What other cultural differences when it comes to business, like business culture, we'll say, have you seen in contrast between say here and back home?
I think this is it. The biggest cultural difference is the whole emphasis on the relationship.
Gotcha.
That is the biggest difference.
But I think, look, like Dubai is a place where there's more expats, right? And you're around so many different nationalities and companies, and it's different in so many ways, right? You've got to respect their way of life, but also it is a Western place. Like Dubai is very different to other parts of the UAE. Like you can't compare it to Saudi, like places like even Abu Dhabi. Like it's so different. It's so worlds apart. Like this feels
so
like two worlds in one.
Yeah.
And I said that to Mal. Like, were you culture shocked a little bit when you came for the first time? No. For a Canadian coming to Dubai, you just took it in your stride.
Yeah, it's fine.
Canadians don't get affected.
Don't get me wrong, it's different. Like it's very, very different place. But I mean, I was okay. I feel like it's pretty.
And this is your first time, right?
Yeah, completely. Exactly.
You haven't travelled, Maurizio.
No, I've never been to the UAE actually.
No, you haven't travelled around Dubai, so this is very, you haven't.
He drove last night. I think. What time did you get him? I think he just cruised around the Palm and JBR.
I don't. It's hard to because the time difference is funny, but I'm pretty sure Dubai time I landed close to midnight on. It would have been Monday.
Yesterday.
Close to midnight on Monday.
Yeah,
Today's Tuesday, no?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I technically landed like at the earliest hour Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got the car, drove to hotel, kind of just like. Actually, I didn't sleep. Sorry, no. I picked you up at 5. I picked you up at 5:30. So I didn't sleep. Yeah, I took a bit of a nap this afternoon.
If there's a delay, you know why.
But no, other than that, I would say from my side, it was very seamless experience.
That's amazing.
For the 24 hours that I've been here.
I think you're right. In London and England, when you work in companies, there still seems to be, I won't say a segregation, but less of a mix. Whereas here, it feels like
it's interesting.
Even going out in Dubai and just networking and meeting people mix together a lot more. Because they have to, right?
I think what's interesting is I worked in a lot of the corporate companies in London. And maybe my experience is only based on corporate companies in London,
Fair.
right?
Maybe.
Because London is very diverse. But in the corporate companies, there was not.
Yeah.
There was not much diversity.
Even like
And
we talk gender as well, like men and women. Like no diversity there either.
Yes, exactly.
Especially in IT at that time.
Yeah.
Like if we go back at that time, like the equality difference in terms of women in tech must have been so much lower compared to what it is now, because there's been such a campaign. And
it's
push.
amazing now, isn't it?
How is it here then?
Yeah.
So that is a good question. So again, this depends on where you are, who you're working for. My current company, so many women in tech. Never seen this many women in tech. Now, the other thing is the UAE government has set a goal of increasing women in the workplace by 30% by 2025.
Nice. Pretty close.
And then, of course, that includes women in tech.
Yeah.
So there's a whole initiative of Dubai Women in Tech as well that they are.
So there's like a
initiative.
Group.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
A program.
Nice.
Does that make it a good? So if someone's watching right now, right, and like a lot of the requests I'm getting now is like Dubai. Do you work with anyone out there? We want to move to Dubai. If you're a woman in tech who's thinking of relocating and you're looking at an opportunity where you can be accepted and propelled and you can grow your career and accelerate, this will seem like the place to be then.
This is it.
They're screaming out for you.
And I was just saying this the other day, that this would be the perfect time for women in tech to relocate to Dubai. Yes, they've got the initiative, but also Dubai is safe. Yeah. Dubai is so safe. Safest place for women, especially, right? So,
there's no other place that you can walk. You tell me one place in the world that you can walk at 3 a.m. on your own and nothing's going to happen.
Exactly. And
Can't say that about the UK.
no, of course you can't. And sometimes I go for a walk at 11 or 12 in the night, go around the Marina Walk, and I think, wow, I could never do this in London.
Wow.
Right? Alone. I just put my headphones on and listen to a podcast or something, and I think,
You don't have to be looking over your shoulder or feel paranoid
Yeah.
or just have your wits about you.
super safe, you know. So I think women in tech, you know, this is the time, and I think this is the most exciting time to be in Dubai, just because of the whole initiative, Salesforce, and all the push towards, you know, trying to grow the ecosystem. And Salesforce, you know, they're obviously working with universities here. Working with they're working with universities to, of course, speak to graduates about a career in Salesforce.
Are they putting it in the curriculum? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It's interesting. I was
There
looking
are
at
some
it.
in the States that do that, and
They
even
are.
in Canada, actually, there's a few profs who've like
Tech in
it's
general?
No, like they actually will get the kids to do Trailhead, and then like they'll get them to graduate with like a certification or something.
I actually think they are looking into something
Like this?
something of similar. I was looking at it the other day, and I just think it's absolutely amazing. It's 2 universities. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but you know, the whole push towards Salesforce, the tech industry. This is a time for women to relocate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there any cons, Ree? I mean, not just for women, but if someone's looking to move to Dubai, is there anything, like, is there any, not I won't say negative, but is there anything that you've come across where you're like, okay, you're going to find this hard and you're going to have to adjust?
There's a lot of
mentally?
things. There's
Besides
a lot
the
of
heat?
things.
Huh?
Besides the heat.
I was just going to say
Coming from the
that.
guy wearing a 3-piece suit and it's 40 degrees.
So far, it's fine. Honestly, I'm not just saying that for
So-
TV. Like, it's not that bad, guys.
Hemi, I wear my coat in the mall, so yeah, that's a con. So
Freezing the air conditioning, eh?
yes, absolutely freezing. So the con is the 4 months of heat,
Yeah.
and then the air conditioning. Okay, let's get serious. So there's obviously going to be the cons of you missing your family. You know, you're relocating. You're going to go through, is this the right move for me? You know, was this the right decision? But I just think, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. So, you know, if not now, then never, right? That's the thing. So there's a lot of cons in terms of that. Then, of course, the expense. Dubai is expensive. Dubai is not cheap. So, you know, I think when you compare it with safety and you compare it with where we are in terms of the tech market and how this is the place to be, you know, I think that outweighs it, especially the weather. I know 4 months heat, but then in London we waited and waited and we never got the summer, right? Last year there was 4 months of heat, after I left. But,
So it's only when you speak to a
So-
Canadian guy and he tells you about minus 40 degrees and you realise in England it
Yeah, but
isn't
it's not
that
like
bad.
all the where I live. It's not all the time. Like there are places. Obviously, it's a massive country. There are places where you'll have that weather definitely more often than not. But overall, like you've touched on it, where in general, like if you look at the UAE specifically, Dubai, like there's clearly a bigger investment in Salesforce that's
Yes.
growing,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
What do you see in regards to? I mean, we kind of actually touched on skill gaps before. It wasn't necessarily about a skill. It's more about like a soft skill, from what I understand,
Yes.
like ability to build trust, build rapport.
Yeah.
With sort of the base experience you might have gathered. But what about people who work perm versus contract? Like, what's the deal with that? Like,
That's a good one, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was a contractor,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
What do you think of
this was
the-
my other thing. So when I was going to move, and I was like, oh, I'm really happy. I was at the career where I was contracting, financially really, it's really stable and so on. So moving to Dubai, that was my worry. That can I be a contractor? So the first thing I did, I was like, well, I want to be a contractor. It's risky to be a contractor in Dubai
Why?
at this point, right? Because don't forget, let's go back to Salesforce is new here.
Right.
It's
Fair.
up and coming. We're not as mature as London, and I think when we get to where London is, London was 5-6 years ago when contracting started booming, it will boom here. But here, your work is linked to your visa. Right, so your company has to sponsor you, your company sponsors you, your health insurance and so on. So you don't want to. Naturally, most expats would not want to take that
So most
that risk.
expats coming are going perm.
Permanent. They are coming as permanent. They shouldn't. They wouldn't want to take that risk. But it's coming. It will definitely
From the
come.
to be like the ones that I've met, Ree, don't seem to be working contracts for clients in the UAE. Like they've moved to Dubai.
Really?
No, like yeah, because we know quite a few that have moved here just to benefit from the fact they have the lifestyle.
Yeah.
But they can deliver projects anywhere.
But are
in the
they
world.
contracting here?
Yep, but not
So their setup
specifically
is here.
for clients here, but their setup is here.
Oh, right. So they live here, but they contract.
But they might be
outside.
delivering remote services
Exactly.
to like a client in the UK, for example.
You can do that, right?
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to go back into contracting, I'll of course get back in touch with a couple of the companies I
Right.
worked for, and I
100%.
can do that. Now, I can do that, and other contractors can, those contractors you've spoken to, because they've got the limited company.
Yeah.
You've got the limited company, all you need to do is get your license in Dubai, which
pretty easy to
takes an
set up.
hour, right?
An hour.
Go and get your
Harder
license.
to get your
Nice.
bank account.
And then exactly, you know this. So yes, you could definitely do that, but contracting within the UAE is tricky.
Okay.
Because-
that will change?
Yes,
It's a hard
it's absolutely going to change, because we are at the young market of Salesforce, right? So when it gets, so where are we right now? Companies are trying to implement Salesforce. So it's all about the Salesforce partners. The consultancies need to get in, implement. Once they've implemented, the next phase of that is those companies need to hire. They need to have their internal Salesforce teams, their tech teams. Once they've got the tech teams, that's when they will for sure want contractors, because that's what happened in London, right? They implemented, and then they said, oh, we've got this project, let's just outsource and get a contractor in. And those are the contracts I used to work on.
Right.
100% that of course that's going to come.
I feel like that's like the boom's coming. And this is where you feel it.
The
You
boom is
feel it
coming.
with Salesforce
Yeah.
tech, that the boom's coming, man. Like if you're looking, I don't think you can replicate what we had in the UK, because the market's changed so much.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, like even if you had those doubts where you're like, should we move back? You can only speak to a few people, and there's those that are still doing well in contracts. But I think IR35, the economy, Brexit, the market, the fact that companies are more advanced now, like that
Yeah.
boom's gone with many of them.
Really?
They've been running on Salesforce now for years and years. So
I still get approached for contracts in the UK.
I just need to do probably more in the UK.
I still
Maybe
get
I'm out of
approached.
touch, but I just feel that
No, but
moment we
you're
had,
right, though,
that
right.
moment we had where
Yeah.
you would get 100 calls a day, and they would offer you any rate that you wanted. Maybe it's still out there in certain specialisms and certain areas of Salesforce, but there's a lot more people on the market now.
Really? That's interesting. And that might be because, of course, all the,
Redundancies,
You
and
know, in
everything that's
London.
happened this year, right?
yes,
Yeah, but it's
exactly.
also time too, like time in the market. Like it gives
There's
people
more candidates as
opportunity
well,
to catch
right?
up in general.
More
Like, if there's
candidates.
more like contractors there, like it's not
The
gonna be
competition
as
is intense in
open,
the
right?
UK.
Where it's like, okay, like you tell me what you want, and it's like open bids
Yeah,
type
yeah.
deal. That could be it.
Because I feel like you can stand out here. Like if you've got a specific skill set and you're known and you've built up a name, I think you can really strive. Whereas I think in other markets, there's a lot of caliber of competition.
Well, yeah, it's big fish,
Yeah.
small pond, or what's that
Absolutely.
saying?
No,
fish, big
you're
pond.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. The hard thing I was gonna say is, because you mentioned local projects for contractors, there's not like an abundance, right? So if you're really good, like in the way that we just mentioned, you could probably win some stuff, right? Because I know some people who contract here who do really well with local companies, but it's just not like millions of opportunities for you to have a full pipeline,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So you could be set up here, like you said, and a lot of people do that, and they work contracts like
And actually-
outside of the market.
Yeah. Sorry.
But no, it's okay. It's more just you have to make sure you're also picking the right market to get the work from, because, I mean, so like you're based here, the costs are high, you said, right? You're getting paid out here from companies out here, you're probably fine, because it's all sort of, it makes sense. But I'm not going to pick on a specific European country, but there are some where if you're contracting for a company in, say, I'm just going to say part of Southern Europe as an example, living in Dubai, it might be tough to pay the bills, no? Like it may not,
Yes.
you know what I'm trying to
And
say?
this
No
is-
tax or
there's
not.
There's two parts of Dubai, right? Like, does it depend on the lifestyle? Because I feel like there's going to be a certain expense, and that marina walk that you talk about does sound amazing. But then there's other parts of
Yeah.
Dubai which aren't so costly. So does it depend on what you want out of life and the lifestyle and what you're trying to build?
Yeah. So definitely, and this is something to think about, isn't it? So what you said is what I was actually looking at. So initially when I moved and I thought, oh, I want to be a contractor, I'll work for, and actually one of my contacts in London said to me, come back, you can do continue the contract with us. And I wasn't looking. It was just the case of, think about it. And for me, I was like, well, no, because even though the contracting rates are great, it doesn't match up to, of course,
This is
the
for the UK, you mean? Like a UK
expenditure.
contract.
Exactly.
Wow.
The expenditure, here. Yeah, exactly. And you know what those rates are.
Well, in comparison to the rest of Europe, right? Maybe
Yeah.
besides like Germany or Switzerland. I would have
Exactly.
thought.
So definitely you couldn't you cannot. I mean, you can and you can't, but then again, you've got the risk of, okay, it's a contract 6 months. What happens after those 6 months, right? You can take that risk at home. Of course you can, because you have your house and so on, or you have your family. You cannot do that in Dubai.
Right.
It's super risky. But going back to your point, which is where you live, 100%. So like I said to you previously, I think before when we spoke, was Dubai is for everybody. Anybody can live in Dubai, and it's based on where you live, because your biggest cost is your rent.
Yeah.
Your huge biggest cost is your rent.
Even
also,
with the no tax, like you'll still feel the rent. That's the biggest outgoing. That
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You will feel that, and not only that. For example, you live in an expensive area in Dubai. It's not just that, is it? Also, your other expenses will be more, because you're not going to get in the car and travel half an hour or 10, 20 minutes to another supermarket or another, the shops around in your area. So everything is more pricier. So it all adds up. Dubai is for everyone, definitely, because you get in the car, just 10 minutes away from downtown or from Marina or wherever, your rent would probably be quarter less, right? Quarter less, half less, depending, 50% less, depending on, where you are, right? So a lot of it's to do with where you stay, your rent, and then of course all the other expenses. And then you're living in Dubai, and for 4 months a year, it's hot. You're going to get those steps in, the steps, 10K steps you need to take. They will be in the mall. There's malls everywhere. When you go to the mall...
Like, any recommendations? Because like we need to do a quick flying visit before.
You need to go to... You have to go to Dubai Mall. You haven't been, right?
Emirate.
Okay.
The main...
Mall of it, no, Dubai Mall is the biggest one, where you should see the fountain and the Burj Khalifa and so on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do
But
I didn't even go to malls back home.
But just be prepared, so like have the right.
But going back to the points, the whole thing there was that expense, right, Hemi? Yeah. It's more to do with you're going to walk in those malls for 4 months a year. It's hot. You're getting your steps in, but you're not just getting your steps in. You're shopping because now you've seen something in the window, and then you're going to eat because you'll get hungry. So this is how your expenses.
So it really tests your self-control, right? If people like to shop, then we can go quick. But is that for the
people get hungry?
Yes.
they had me in the last one, man. Like when I last came, like the oud guys like had me every moment. Like, man, I bought that many ouds.
But also,
because at every point they would stop me and I couldn't say no. I was just, I'll take it. One of them didn't even smell great. I was like, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. And then he remembered me, so I had to kind of dodge him. Like, it's true, because like there's so many, like Dubai is one of them places that I think as well that people are out here to be successful and make money, to hustle,
work
to
hard.
grind, to work hard, and that is infectious, because I don't get that in certain places that I've lived. Like, people want more of the work-life balance, but you're not around. You can meet someone in Dubai and build a network that can change your whole future, right? Like, it could take you into totally different directions, and that is special, because how many places in the world right now are you seeing that everyone has that mentality to just strive to be the best?
I love that point.
High.
Yeah, that is an amazing point that you've just made, because it's definitely a work hard. Everybody works hard here, and I think so. A lot of companies are hybrid as well. So of course, there's also that work-life balance. But then you do tend to work harder here. You do tend to work some longer hours here, and you do tend to have, those couple of months where you just need to get the job done. You will do those extra hours and so on. In London, it was all about mental health, work from home, and a lot of work-life balance, and a lot to do with the working smart. So I remember in Aon you have 8 hours in the day, work smart, right? So prioritize, and it was all about prioritizing, not working more than 8 hours. Dubai, it definitely is all about working hard, and I think that's where it all comes in, right? You work hard, you're stressed, but then of course you get to enjoy, the lovely weather and the swimming pool and the beach. So then it all makes up for it. It goes hand in hand.
Are we'll say in tech, because that's where we are, right? The salaries that some people like rant and rave about out here, like, are they really as good as in general from what you've seen, as people would say? Or
so definitely, but what I'd say is that how we have the we have the bands in
Yeah,
London.
sure.
You don't have that here.
Oh,
so there would be. I just don't think you do. I mean, I've been here just under a year and a half, and you know, it's all about how much you can negotiate, right? So going back to your question, yes, it's tax free, and what I find hilarious is my family and friends in the UK now think I'm rich because I live in Dubai.
I was joking with Ria, so I'm going to see you on season 2.
That's hilarious.
Dubai Bling, the
So
Salesforce version.
and you did say that, didn't you? Hilarious. So definitely salaries are good, because of course we don't get taxed, and you know we get taxed in the UK, but you know, so is your expenditure. So again, that question is really subjective.
Yeah, it's not what people think on the outside, because again, the calls that I get from candidates, and you probably get them sometimes now, is that question, like, what's the earning potential? And then when you weigh up the earning potential to the costs, is it really worth it for someone who's a junior, for example? My advice to someone who, for example, is coming into Salesforce: get your experience where you are, and then move out to a place like
Do you
Dubai,
agree?
which is literally like what you've done.
Yeah, but
If
also
you came 10 years ago, would it have been a totally different
so
story?
I suppose my salary might have been different,
Exactly.
right?
Would you have been able to suffice and live
Yes,
the way that you live?
but Hemi, I did say this before, that even if you're on a junior salary, I think you can make it work. It depends on you though, right? If you've got a family, if you've got children, it's not going to work, right?
Like if you're a junior, you mean? Like
Yeah,
a junior
if
person
you're junior,
with like
yeah,
a full, like
exactly.
a junior person with a lot of expenses, in short.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It could be tough.
Exactly. But then again, you know, I know people who've moved here on a lower salary, and then they've lived in areas where their rent is low and expenses are low, you know, and so on. So I think again, we don't want to scare off the juniors in Salesforce. We do want them, but of course it's just about being realistic, because I think one of the things I find is that when recruiters call you in the UK and they talk about jobs in Dubai, they tend to say, oh, this is what the salary would be, and they convert it into pounds. That's where they make the mistake, because what you're converting into pounds is not going to work out for you in dirhams. It really isn't, right? What 100 dirham is, which is £20, is a complete different value of £20.
But do they not get into, like, say, the tax difference, or even like where you are on like the wealth percentiles in each country, like to compare? Because it's kind of apples to oranges, right? Depending on the country. So like, do they ever do that? Like, oh, you're in this percentile here, but here
not really.
Salary. No, okay.
So I guess I only spoke to one, and this is a very long time ago, actually. This was back in 2018. And it's funny, if I had moved in 2018, I still had a lot of experience, right? But that was the first time somebody approached me for that one implementation, which was the huge implementation here. And what he offered me was on what I'm probably on half. I don't know. I can't remember now. But I know that it's one of those things that you look at and you think, oh my God, imagine I moved on that salary. Because it looked like a lot to me in the UK, but it wasn't a lot here compared to what the value is and how much the 100 dirham can take you.
I still kind of think that as a junior person, it could be smart to at least consider if your expenses are already pretty low, because what you just said, where you can build a network that can change your life very fast. If you can get out here, you have like half decent job in the tech space, you're actually actively trying to network, you're building up that, you know what I mean? Like by the time you get to, let's say you're 20, you move here, by the time you're 25 or whatever, you could be in a very different spot than you would have been, say,
I said that to you as well,
home.
right? I said if you could go into your early 20s or mid 20s.
Right.
To me, Dubai is one of them places where you have to put yourself out there. Similar to what we had to go through maybe in Spain, where it was very expat.
A bit later, but
like you have to meet people, because a lot of people that come here that I've seen, I might be wrong, but they're on their own as well. They don't have an option apart from going out, networking. Otherwise, you're going to be isolated and alone. And that's where I think Dubai is special in its own sense, and the UAE as a whole, that everyone is in a similar boat. They have to basically build networks, go out, mingle, meet people.
Literally, the boat parties are here again.
I've never been to one.
You're lying.
I haven't. I actually haven't been to any. So yeah,
I don't
different life
believe you.
here.
Why not?
So,
That's the first thing me and Mal talked about. Like, so how much is it to actually rent a boat here? It wasn't that bad actually.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
to rent a
so-
boat isn't that bad.
to rent a yacht,
in Dubai.
it's not expensive. I can't remember. It's
So
a
many
few.
of them here.
It's a few different.
It's like renting a sports car.
David's watching this. Like, do not rent a yacht.
So I.
So that's our CEO.
This
David about that.
guys, this needed to be on the yacht. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
Right.
really. We'll take that one back to the
So
kitchen,
yachts are
see
not,
what they'll do.
but the yachts are not expensive, right? So yeah, of course you can hire out a yacht and then do a barbecue or so on, you know. But I was going to go into something and I've completely forgotten.
We were just talking about like what we do like for fun. Like, what do you really?
It's a
do
good
out
segue
here
actually.
for-
'Cause
But I was going to go. I want to make a point of the singles,
Ah,
right?
okay.
Because
Yeah.
I really want them to
Yeah,
not
yeah,
be
yeah.
disheartened.
Sure.
Right. So there are so many single people here who have moved, right? Who are young in their 20s. And I think they can do well. They can definitely do well. Like you said, they can take that experience. If they decide to move back, fine. That experience is going to do wonders for them. Yes, yes, we're not as mature here in Salesforce. However, that global experience is going to do wonders. You know that on their CV. First of all. Secondly, they are the ones who end up saving more because they end up doing flat share or so on, so their rent is never that high.
too.
They end up networking more than people in couples or families do because we just want to go home.
It's,
Right.
It's a perception thing though, because a lot of people they see Dubai and they think, oh, I'm gonna get to Dubai buying like a Lambo or like live in some beautiful place. That
people
can't
get
relax.
lost in the soul.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's what
like
thing I'm saying.
relax.
Please.
It's not, if you're, especially if you're brand new to whatever you're doing, it's like you can easily get there probably right in some time, but you gotta
Yeah,
like
yeah.
baby steps, you know.
You've got to, yeah. No, exactly. That's hilarious what you
Levels are
said.
just on another
But that's
level
what like
as well, though.
I'm thinking even from my perspective, like from someone who like the first time I ever heard about Dubai, right? Like never being out here. That's still what I thought about, right? Even before I came here, when,
That's
when I
hilarious.
look at it in my head, I think like Ferrari, Lamborghini.
I mean, that's the
building,
1%.
I know, yeah, but people don't think that, right?
But you
They
know,
think
you
that
know,
is
the,
everybody.
you know, I don't
mean-
know the stat, but the amount of millionaires in Dubai compared to anywhere in the world
Is it high?
It's a lot.
increasingly high.
Actually, it's not 1%, is it?
No, it's
Yeah,
a
let's
lot
take that
more.
back.
It's more. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
in terms of network.
Yeah, but what's
Like,
a million these
and
days?
also
There
being
are-
in tech.
in general? Like I'm
Yeah.
not speaking at all from.
There's around
experience, but you know what I
200 and
mean.
something thousand, right?
A lot of
There's
people-
there's a lot of millionaires.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? It's
Yeah.
not. It's not like
Yeah.
it used to be.
So those single people can come here and become those millionaires. Yes.
Right.
Because if you look at
No.
products, right, and innovation and application software, if people have ideas, it seems like one of them. I'm not saying it's the Silicon Valley of the UAE, but it just seems like one of them places where people are willing to buy your ideas if they're good and they believe in you.
Oh my God,
And
so-
they have the money to spend.
Absolutely. And this is a conversation I had just yesterday with one of my friends at work. And we were talking about businesses and she wants to do something. And I said to her, I said, this is the place. I said, she's from Paris. And I said, well, you couldn't have done it there. I said, but you can do it here. And I said, Dubai is a place where everybody needs the convenience. We're so lazy now. My brother visited me and he said, you can never move back home. What is this? Because everything you can order to your doorstep. You know, you need a nurse to do your COVID test, she'll come to
Taliban's
you.
killing it out here.
Your groceries outside your door. There are pharmacies outside your door. You know, just anything and everything,
Ultimate
right?
convenience.
So it's all about convenience. Whatever business you want to do, it's well, do it because we're lazy. We will order it. We'll buy it.
And they seem
That's
to
how
want the
it's-
next biggest idea. But the one good segue I wanted to go to, we like to get to know people. And I think we've got to know you well. But for the people that don't know you, we're going to do a part of the show where I don't want you to think too much. Just be whatever comes to mind. This is behind the cape of Salesforce when you're not working hard. And you know, you're in Dubai, so hopefully you are making the most. And I think hopefully a boat party does come up. But just a few sporadic questions. Don't think, just speak. We want to get to know who
Oh my
you
God,
are.
don't.
I'm
I'm gonna be blank. I will be
Don't think
blank.
about it. Don't think about it. So we'll start it off light. Favorite color,
Red.
favorite cuisine,
Sushi. Japanese. Sorry.
favorite place to go out in Dubai.
Oh, I can't think. Marina?
Marina Walk.
No. DIFC. Sorry, I didn't think DIFC is nice.
What's
Favorite. Yeah, what is DFC?
DIFC is like your Canary Wharf.
Ah, nice.
Yes.
Favorite restaurant,
Rocker.
Rocker. Would you
Yes.
recommend it?
Yeah, Rocco's also in London. It's Japanese.
Hemi's more of a Nando's guy.
There is a Nando's in Dubai.
I know you wanted me to say biryani. I mean, I knew that.
I said to Mao, I was like, I'll ask Rihana for some food recommendations. I know she'll know the best biryani spots. I stereotype.
And actually, I was thinking of sending you some recommendations, but then my husband was laughing at me because he was like, "What do you know?" Because actually, he was like, "Where do you know?" He was like, "You and your sushi." So yeah, I could definitely. Sorry, I had to think about that.
Favorite. So when you're not working hard, what is your favorite pastime to de-stress, switch off?
Exercise.
And how, like, because I see a lot of walkers in Dubai, a lot of people who are active, like very active.
Yeah, I love that. And apparently there is, my friends keep telling me move to downtown, but for me, marina walk. So my pastime, definitely running, having a jog around the marina, doing some exercise, maybe some painting or reading.
You paint?
I did fine art in college, so...
Wait, you just said that before we started talking.
Yeah.
You spent some time in Italy.
Yeah, so I did fashion designing, fine art, and IT. IT did come in there. Did.
How'd you string all that together?
That's a nice mix.
So I knew computers was the future. So now I'm going to give away my age, guys. So when internet was introduced,
We're talking dial-up.
I was in the final few years of school, right? So then I knew that computers was going to be, I guess everybody knew the internet, the dial-up. Yes, the dial-up. Yes. MSN.
I just remembered that. I just remember waiting 2 days for one download when it was dial-up.
Those were the days.
People don't even know what dial-up is. Some of them watching this will be like, what are they talking
What is
about?
that? How do you know?
Scratching his head.
I've heard.
I really thought you were younger. I thought you were younger.
Myths and legends. That's it. I know about
MP3 Walkman players. What are you guys talking about?
CD players were huge, and I used to hold one and walk around. Anyway, so then I chose IT. I really liked IT, so I wanted to do that. But I also had the whole passion on, fine art. I loved fine art. I wanted to do a degree in fine art. It's funny. My mum said to me, I'm an Asian, so obviously my mum was like, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer or something. And I was like, no way. So she looked at me and she said, so what are you going to do? Sit in Trafalgar Square and draw people?
Caricaturist.
She said that.
I could see that.
Do you know what? She really, oh God, that really hit me. I was like, oh.
But it's good you still keep it a little bit. Like,
yeah, I love it.
The thing that with careers, right, tech is great, but when you lose your passion or that hobby that, just gives you.
So
something.
I did lose it. I stopped doing it for so long, and then I moved to Dubai, and I thought, right, I want to get back into my creative-ness and start some sketching and stuff. So I think it's so important. But then for a while, Salesforce was my hobby. I loved my job, and it's funny because I got to a stage in London where my friends would all say, "Oh, don't like my career," or "Not happy with this," and I'd say, "I love my job." And how many people can say that in their 30s that they love their job?
Most people
right?
don't.
We were talking about this literally today in the morning.
Yeah.
We're like, when you get, I think the decisions you make in your 20s have a huge part in your 30s and
Absolutely.
where you end up in terms of your job satisfaction, because the ones who probably, I don't know, I wouldn't say put not as much thought, but maybe didn't take it as serious, end up in a place in their 30s where they feel like they're backpedaling and they're just not content.
Yeah, and this is the thing.
Their job, the money is irrelevant as well.
It's irrelevant, right? And when you enjoy something, you start doing it well. When you start doing it well, the money starts coming in, right? And I've always said this, that there's a lot of people who became the accountants and so on and said, oh, just for the money. But then people are miserable, right? There's a lot of people in their 30s, especially in London, who are miserable. And for me, I was in SAP, I was in Oracle, and I knew they weren't going to be my career. And I used to always say, well, which of these softwares do I really enjoy? So I was really lucky, I guess. And then I got into Salesforce. So I think it's amazing. If you enjoy something, you'll do it with 110%. And a lot of my previous companies where I did the contracting, my contract was always 2 or 3 months, and they ended up being 1 or 2 years. And they always said to me, you're really passionate. You are really passionate as a contractor. But contractors don't really care. They come in, do the work, and
get out. Boom.
And I'm actually in touch with all the companies I did contracting with, all the teams. Still in touch with. Sorry?
Now look what it did for you. You go above and beyond in a way like that, right? Where
the
you violate the expectations of everybody else, and people remember you.
And then the better clients still remember you and still call you, but like, Ree, can you deliver some work for us on the side?
It's funny, a few times, yes.
Oh, but that's what it's about. It's a great way. I think it's a great way to end the show in the sense of, don't chase the money, chase what you're trying to do, but
chase the passion.
But if you do want to chase the money, come to the bar.
and that's what I want to say. Last point for anybody who wants to move to Dubai, and I think we need all the expats to move, right? We need the people from the UK and America. We need those soft skills and so on. But, but only move and be realistic and if you're passionate about what you do, you'll really make it and more.
And connect with me. Look, if you're in Salesforce or you're thinking about coming out here, you're based in the UK, North America, wherever it is in the world, and you need some advice on biryanis. But seriously, I think like when you talk about your journey, the good thing, right, having someone like you is they can see someone who's gone through the trials and tribulations and can now get your advice on, like, what would you advise on this? What would you advise on that? Like, what companies do you see are innovative? And also talking about that, like the world tour, right? Like you went to the earlier world tours and the events in Dubai. Fingers crossed and touch wood that the one this week, which is on Thursday. So if you're there, I know this is going to be later, but if you're there, you probably have already met us. I hope this one is going to be good, because we flew out for this generally and this. And I think that the growth of Salesforce compared to years before seems bigger than ever.
Yeah, fingers and toes crossed. This is a big one. Back in 2020, there was something called Salesforce Base Camp, and I was here again. I'm always here. I was here in 2020 before I relocated for a holiday, and I had seen it, and it was tiny. It was in an Atlantis hotel, but it was cancelled because of COVID. Right? It was COVID. It was a lockdown time. So. Lastly, I think the main thing is expats here help each other. If somebody's just moved, you relocate. Everybody is going to be willing to give you the advice and whatever you need in terms of how to make it work.
And it's rare it's rare because the one thing, when we speak to people who are relocated, they become quite isolated. They don't seem to build a network. It seems here you go out and instantly you're going to speak to people. People just seem like they want to network.
Yeah.
Network.
Absolutely.
After this, I feel like generally moving to Dubai.
You're both moving.
Mao's thinking about it. He's sipping his limca. We're not endorsing Indian snacks, by the way. Mao, just to end it, got this wrong. So we were looking for a supermarket. Ended up at literally one that just specialised in Indian snacks. So if you're into your Lays, you got to try one. The limca,
I probably will.
Classic Asian drink. If you don't know it, it is literally the Asian equivalent.
I don't know what this is.
You never had it? Try it on air, please.
I don't know what it is either.
You've never had limca?
No, I've never had it. I'm a 7-Up.
Like memories from,
I'm 7-Up.
This is the only thing
it
my
actually
mum let me drink.
it's Mountain Dew. To me, it's Mountain Dew.
Oh God.
What would you just?
It's very salty.
Really?
It's not citrusy. It's salty. Right?
I taste Mountain Dew.
It's definitely like it's a bit like Mountain Dew, isn't it?
Kind of, right? But no, Ree, thanks so much for jumping on. We're talking about sushi, talking about biryani. Get something to eat.
I think so, man. I think so, dude.
Done.
Peace.